Welcome to 4-Minute Film School. My name is Valentina V, or V from the A-Team. And in last week's episode, we talked about a bunch of different lighting modifiers. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out, because in this episode, we're gonna cover how to use those lighting modifiers to set up an interview scenario for a red carpet. Let's go. In last week's episode, you met Shawn, who is a commercial DP and photographer. He's worked on a lot of promos like for One Direction, the White House, Nickelodeon, and last week we talked about different types of lighting modifiers and how they can help shape the light. So what's our setup for this episode?
Today we're going to talk about a scene that I run into a lot out here, and that's lighting for red carpets. And on the red carpets, we are usually limited by our environment. A lot of times that's limited space, we're competing with daylight, and we're trying to figure out how much equipment we can get into the area.
So what are some tips that we should keep in mind as we're building out like a red carpet setup?
So 3 tips that I always like to think about are control for your environment, light one light at a time, and know who has a close-up. Control for your environment, we want to know what time of day will our talent be on the carpet. And then you need to think about your lights from that. The other thing is one light at a time. You want to start with your key light and supplement around that so you can see what each light is doing to, shape this light on your talent. And then know who has your close-up. You don't always have the ability to have space to have a key light for each person that you're on screen with. So if it's only gonna be one, let's have that key light be the most beautiful for their close-up, but also be in a flattering place for the 2-shot.
Well, today we can't be outdoors. We have to sort of modify an indoor situation, but we're gonna go all over it. Let's take a look. So in this setup, we have 2 people on camera. It's a 2-shot. One person is interviewing and one person is the interviewee. What do we have to consider?
So the one thing I always consider is who's going to get our close-up and what side of their face do they like. Not everybody feels comfortable talking on the left and the right of their face, and especially when you're working with more established talent. They might have a side they prefer. In our case here, Sky is getting her close-up. She wants to go over her left shoulder to talk to our talent.
So now that we know Sky's good side and that we know that she's getting the close-up, she's the interviewer, let's build out this lighting setup. So what's the first light that you place?
So the first light is gonna be our key, and we're choosing a Fresnel because we're competing with the sun because we're outside again. So the Fresnel gives us a great quality light, but it's also very bright.
How about the second light that you set?
So the second light we're gonna set is gonna be our fill, and what that is gonna do is gonna establish our relationship. If we were outdoors, the sun would be our fill. In this case, we're using a large umbrella to simulate the fill we would get from the sun. The Fresnel takes up very little room. This umbrella takes up very little room and gives us a great big spread. The next light we're looking at is a hair light, because what we want to do is we want to separate them. And we want to get them off the background. Without a hair light, a lot of times your head can just blend in the background, especially if you have darker hair. So in this case, we're using, again, another 300D. When you're using client money, let's not let things go to chance. Let's get them the best light they can have for their budget. In this case, we're using a small strip box, which is a long, narrow soft box, and we have that egg crate on it, which is controlling our light. And then on the front of the egg crate, we have a piece of cinefoil or black wrap, which is just this dark black aluminum foil, and that is taped to the end, and that just allows it to be just on our shoulders and just on our hair, but not bleeding to our face or into our nose.
And the last light is sort of an accent light for the actual award that the person has brought off the stage. How did you light such a small, tiny thing independently?
So what we did is we got a spotlight mount, which is a brand new product Aputure is making. We put a 300D behind it. So it's got 4 different blades and an iris and a focus. So we can focus that light, sculpt it so it only hits the award.
So the spotlight mount added to that 300D really allows you to concentrate the light in a particular spot.
You could really use any light in there because it just magnifies it, controls it. It's a great tool.
So let's take a look at this lighting build. So that is your episode on how to light a red carpet interview. One way. There's many different ways, and there's many different ways to light interviews in general. What are some tips, again, for how to light a red carpet interview?
Again, my 3 main tips are control for your environment, light one light at a time, and know who's got your close-up.
And here at Aputure, we have so many lights to work with. Here we use 3 300Ds, a bunch of awesome modifiers, but maybe you have a completely different kit, which leads us to our comment question of the video, which is,
what do you have in your kit and how are you using it creatively? Let us know in the comments. Best comment wins.
An Aputure MW, which is our new underwater LED light. If you like this episode, if you like what we do here, follow us on social media and also follow Aputure. Give us a like, thumbs up, ring the notification bell, subscribe, do all that, and we'll see you next week. Bye.